All right, hello everybody and welcome to another video on the Dice Check channel. Today we are going over some more advanced stuff when it comes to playing 40K. One of the biggest things that you guys are gonna probably want to know about when you start playing is how to build a list.
Yes.
And that's what this entire video is about list building.
High skill ceiling. So I mean, this is like the basics, but there's also a really high skill ceiling for building your list.
Yes, because before you even put your models on the board, building your list is what's going to
Make or break it.
Make or break it, or it's a big difference between bringing an army that is going to auto lose and bringing an army that will be like, I still auto lose.
You've heard the saying, oh, they lost the game in the list building phase, or they lost the game in the deployment phase. It goes hand in hand.
Exactly, it goes both ways. Now, there are different ways that you can build your list, and there's different types of detachments. And
yes, multiple different types.
Yeah, do you want to go over the different types of detachments?
So the main three, I believe, are going to be the patrol, the battalion, and the brigade detachments. These are the core detachments that you need to have. These are the ones that will refund you the CP, because now in 9th, you are paying CP for every detachment you take. You don't gain CP.
Yeah, so depending on how many points your army is, like when you go up to your opponent, you're like, hey, let's play a 1,000 point game, opponent. And they're like, okay,
I can do that.
Yeah, all right then. Then you build 1,000 points. You open up any type of battle app that you use. You can even fucking use Excel if you wanted to. It's not recommended, but you can definitely do that.
You can try.
Once you decide how many points there are, that then shows how much command points you have.
Right.
So I believe at 1,000 points, you start off with...
I want to say it's 6.
Yeah, I want to say 6.
Yeah, because then once you go to 2,000, it goes up to 12.
Yes.
And that's kind of the what everybody builds towards. You build towards a 2,000 point army.
Yeah. So once you figure out how many points you have, you just that decides how many command points you have. Once you figure out how many command points you have, then you can start building your army list with either 1 detachment or 2 detachments. All of your models and units need to be placed into these detachments.
Yes, into these different slots.
Yeah.
So
you want to go over that?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, you're playing a 2,000 point game. The very typical detachment you're going to choose is going to be the battalion detachment. That's a minimum of 2 HQs and a minimum of 3 troops. Now you can go up to 3 HQs and 6 troops, but it depends on which army you play. If you're Custodes, you're probably not going to max out all your slots. You're probably not going to take a brigade detachment with your Custodes. But the very typical one, it costs 3 CP to take a battalion, but if you put your warlord in that battalion, that CP is refunded. So as you go through and you're building your list, if you're playing Imperial Guard, maybe you're going to take a brigade detachment. There's not really a big benefit of that besides having multiple HQ slots, and that is the benefit. If you take a brigade, you get multiple HQ slots, but you also have to take a minimum of 6 troops.
Yeah, and like 3
3 of each.
Fast attacks or something
fast
like
attack,
that.
Heavy, elites. You're going to have to max out all 3 of those, or not max them out, but take 3 of those slots.
Yeah.
And that's why battalion is the most flexible, because you can take 0 elites or you can take 3 elites.
Yeah, every single detachment has a minimum requirement of what you need to meet in order to fill out that detachment.
Right.
So like what he said, battalion, you need a minimum of 2 HQs, and you need a minimum of 3 troop choices. Right. Patrol, I believe it's 1 HQ and 1 troop choice. There's a bunch of them. If you just look into your core rule book right here, it will tell you every single minimum requirement that you need in order to build out a detachment.
Yeah, and if you want to take, let's say you've already got your 3 HQs for your battalion, and you're like, oh, I want to take 1 more HQ, but I don't know, I can't fit them in. Should I cut 1? Or you can take a patrol detachment for 2 CP. You can take an extra HQ with the tax of another troop.
Yeah, so then instead of starting out with 12 CP, like what you would normally do, you would start out with 10 CP because you would put your warlord inside the battalion, because the battalion costs 3 CP.
Exactly.
But the patrol, if you put your warlord in there, it costs 2 CP. So you put your warlord in the battalion, and then you get minus 2 CP.
Right.
Yeah.
And Battle Scribe, it really helps break a lot of this stuff down. Once you kind of get through the little the learning curve, you got to download. I believe I think it's like an APK for 9th edition. But Battle Scribe, I love it. I used to use Army Builder, I think. I don't know if they're still around.
They're not.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a little outdated.
Future's now, old man.
Go into your apps, right? Technology. And you
So
would open
advanced.
it up. And like right here, I have so many different lists in
Yes,
here.
theory crafting, so fun. I love it.
This is probably one of my favorite parts
Same.
about the game, is just theory crafting and making great lists
Same.
or like lists that are either fun or lists that like work towards, you know, some type of
like, I can play. I need to get reps with my new grand tournament, you know, list.
Yeah, and now in 9th edition with secondaries becoming a standard thing, because before in 8th edition there used to be this thing called ITC.
Right.
And in ITC you would get these secondaries where you can score multiple points. The core gameplay of Games Workshop, you know, for Warhammer 40K didn't have that. But now in 9th edition, there is that. So it makes list building even more fun because you are trying to max out these points with your list.
And it's really, once you start getting into that really high ceiling gap, like you're like, okay, I got my army down, I got my list building down. You move into your synergies and your stratagems and your secondaries, and you start building your list around that.
Yeah, so Battlescribe, the best army list builder that's out right now.
Yes.
Games Workshop, maybe if you fix your shit, then maybe, you know, we'll like it more, but just use Battlescribe. It's amazing.
Yes.
You just open it up, and this will help you out in learning like how to build your list so much.
You go in, you create a new roster, you select what type of detachment you want. From there, you select what army you want, and then you move in and you start selecting your HQs, your troops, and if you don't have it built correctly, it actually gives you a little exclamation mark in the top that tells you, hey, you need to add one more HQ for a minimum of 2, or you need to add one more troop for a minimum of 3.
Yeah, so we can do that right now, actually. If you press this plus button in the bottom right, and you can look at all the different armies that you can run.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna do something that at least I know, so that it's super easy.
Yeah.
We're just gonna pick Tyranids. And then you select which detachment you want. I want to build a battalion detachment. So I'll select battalion detachment. In my details, I can name it. I'm going to name it Poo Poo.
Poo Poo Kaka.
Poo Poo Kaka.
Perfect.
And now you have 140K. So then in this, it has all these different areas that you can add in stuff.
Correct.
You know, you have your HQs. You can add in different types of HQs. Put that in, you press the check mark. For the different troops, you can put in, let's say that we'll put in like a unit of Hormigons. And if you click on the top right here, this tells you all the stuff that you need to finish in order to build out your list.
Right, so you need to tell Battlescribe, oh, I'm playing a 2,000 point list, so that way it knows to give you 12 CP.
Yeah, and we can do that right here. Press battle size, check mark, go in here, and we are changing it over to strike force for 2,000 points.
Correct.
Boom. And now it knows how much CP we're going to be starting out with.
And you can still see we're down to 9 CP when we should have 12. And the reason for that is because we need to select our Warlord.
Yeah, so I'm just going to choose this Broodlord as our Warlord here. And boom, there we go. Now we're back up to 12 CP.
Right on.
Yeah, really easy. So that's how you would list build, like how to
the
do
basics
it, like
of
the
Battlescribe,
basics.
yeah.
That's the basics of how to do it. Now we're going to go into like more advanced stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to your army, there are different reasons as to why your army's list will fluctuate in points.
Right.
And one of them is through this thing. This is called Chapter Approved. Chapter Approved has all of your updated points for your army. Now, Battlescribe is a third-party app. That means that they have to input all this stuff manually.
Right. It takes some time.
It takes time. So during that time, you can look through here, and this will have all of your different points for different armies. And this will be different from what your codex is.
Right.
Depending on when the chapter approved comes out. This codex will give you points in the back of the book, but you kind of just ignore it when you are working with Battlescribe because whatever.
There's points.
There's points in there towards the end. So this will update your points.
Right.
Every single year they come out with 1 or 2, depending.
I believe it's yearly.
Yeah, it's like once or twice. This is when you can also grab this. This is called the Imperial Armor Compendium.
Yep, that's all
this
your
has
Forge
a bunch
World
of stuff.
goodies.
Yeah, exactly. So you might see on Battlescribe, there's like units that you've never seen before. What the hell's a Malanthrope? That's not in my codex. I don't know what that is.
I don't see that in my local gaming shop.
Dude, when I was first starting out, I was like looking at all this stuff. I was like, what the hell's a Malanthrope? What the fuck is this?
Get this shit out of here. It's not in my codex.
Carnifex. But yeah, so one of the coolest things about 9th edition is that you get these new secondaries. And you get these secondaries either in your core rulebook or in the Grand Tournament mission pack.
Right.
And these secondaries help you give a guideline of how you want to build your army list. First, what you want to do is you want to pick 3 secondaries that you can do yourself.
Right. You want to, depending on how your armor is and your toolbox and what your army provides, you want to build that towards whatever secondaries you feel most comfortable with. It's really nice to build secondaries around things that you control, not your opponent.
Yeah.
So, for example, you're building a list. Maybe you don't want to take too many vehicles, so that way your opponent can't max bring it down. Or maybe you want to take really strong, high-pointed models, so that way you can take While We Stand, hide them in the back. You gain 15 points. You don't have to do anything. You just have to stay alive.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, you did that during the entire tournament that we ran. He was bringing While We Stand every single game with his orcs list. You knew going into it. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to explain like how you kind of made that list?
Yeah, sure. So building that list, I saw what strengths the orcs had. They do have some high point models. So I took a big mech with shock attack gun because I believe that's around 120 points, and that was probably my most expensive model, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
120 points is not a lot. I also took a war boss on bike. The Forge World version, I believe I upped them up to 115 points with an upgrade. And then my 3 shock jump dragsters were tied at 110 points. So I would just select one, and then because that shock jump dragster can fly around the board, it was really easy for me to keep him away from my opponent.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of like what we're talking about, where you want to build your list making sure that you are working towards these secondaries.
Right.
When you don't have a list that works towards these secondaries and you come up to a game and you're just like,
What do I take?
Yeah, what do I take? I don't even know what I want to take.
Right,
Here we go.
exactly.
Like that, you're kind of already on the back foot.
Exactly. You go in there, you already know what 3 secondaries you want to take. You've won half the bet.
Yeah. But that's for like if you want to win the game. If you want victory. If you're going for something fluffy, bring whatever the hell you want.
Right, exactly.
Like,
whatever's fun, whatever you
dude.
have.
Yeah, man. Dude, I love my Gene Stealers costing 300 points for 20.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring 2 of them for 600 points.
Exactly.
And let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. They got shot.
Yeah, they got shot, and they died very bad. You know, you see a lot of people take these, like, almost the same secondaries all the time. You know, you see people take Deploy Scramblers.
Yeah.
You see people take While We Stand, We Fight. You see a lot of people take Engage on All Fronts. What's another really good one? Domination, maybe?
I like Linebreaker.
Oh, Linebreaker, that's another one.
Domination is really good if you have a lot of troops on the field. Domination is great, especially if there's a lot of objectives. Now, that's not one that you're going to know that, like, every time, but that's definitely one you're like, oh, hey, this has a lot of objectives. Maybe I'll take Domination because I have 900 guardsmen.
Yeah, yeah, and all of it comes from building this list. Like, if I'm building something like Tyranids, right, and I want to make sure that I get Engaged on All Fronts, or if that's a secondary that I want to try to max out and get the most amount of points possible, then, you know, I need to find different ways that I can do that. So I need to bring units that can accomplish that goal. Something like Gargoyles, you know, Gargoyles awful.
Fly across the board,
terrible
though.
units. You know, they're somewhat cheap.
Yeah.
They move 12 inches, so
And
you
that's
can move
something-
advance them. And
That's
get
something that
Engaged on
changed a
Fronts.
lot with from 8th to 9th. 8th turned into a really killy addition to 9th to be a very objective based.
Yeah.
So having versatility versus super killy is nice.
Yeah.
Having gargoyles, flying them across the board versus
Letting them die because you don't care.
they're but they got you engaged,
Yeah,
right?
they got you 3 points and Engage on All Fronts, so might
Exactly.
as well, you know, what, like,
Yep,
if
and
you
then-
could get a free 3 points, like,
Yeah.
it's pretty worth it.
Yeah, and
you
then
know?
gargoyles are, I mean, they're cheap, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, all right. Well, they're Tyrian, so
yeah.
nothing's dirt
Well,
cheap
let's just
now.
say that because of this, you know, they might be a little bit more expensive.
they gave it to you a little bit.
Let's get scratching.
Stratagems. That's another big thing to build your list around. One of the first things that a lot of people look at,
When
from
you
what
open
I've
up your
heard,
book.
when you open up the codex, is stratagems. See what stratagems like synergize with your units really well. If you have something that's really good, take that unit and then use that unit to maybe take your secondaries, just like infiltrators. Infiltrators have stratagem to redeploy somewhere else or re-deep strike at a later turn. Maybe that's good for Linebreaker. Maybe that's good for Engage.
Or Deploy Scramblers. Even.
Exactly.
You know, there's so many different ways that you can run your game, and just like coming up to a game with a random opponent that you've never met before, like let's say that you go to a GT or like to your local game store and you pull up, you don't know what they're gonna play, you don't know anything.
Right.
But if you know what secondaries that you're taking, then that's like half the battle.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to worry about the other person. You don't have to be like, oh fuck, can I?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I took all my anti-tank because I was
because
hoping people were going to
we're gonna
take,
bring- we're gonna
bring it
bring
down.
tanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I can get bring it down. I can max bring it down every turn, but you know what? That's controlled by your opponent, not by you. So it's really good to take those ones that are in your favor.
So souping is a little bit more advanced,
Right.
but that's when you take one army that has like the same keyword as another army and you put them together. They can't be in the same detachment. Well, sometimes they can. And you kind of just like mix them together.
Right.
And a really, really good, easy way to explain this is armies that can run multiple detachments within their own like army. Right. Something like orcs, you know, orcs can run death skulls and grot mobs. They can have one detachment where it's just death skulls. All the people inside of that detachment gain the death skulls benefit, but they wouldn't get grot mob or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't overlap. So like if you're playing something like Tyranids, you would take a battalion detachment of something like Leviathan or Jormungandr. They would both work separately, but still together.
Right. It's all the same army, but you're getting benefits from different detachments that you're taking, and you pay for that. You pay for that in CP.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's broken like it used to be. Not broken, but it was a little more feels badsy in 8th because you would actually benefit from souping.
Yeah.
And now it's like now you benefit from playing your core army.
You can also put in other armies into the same detachment.
Yes.
Something like with Tyranids, you can get something called Brood Brothers. You know, so you can make a list with armies.
Genestealer cult.
Yeah, with Genestealer cults, with units that aren't even in your codex, but they share the same keywords. So, you know, you can bring regular Tyranids, but you can also put into the same detachment something like Infantry Squad Brood Brothers, or what are the other things that they have? Fucking Abominants.
You're talking about Genestealer cult?
Yeah, Genestealer cults for Brood Brothers.
Yeah, you pretty much you take Brood Brothers keyword as in you would take like
Leman Russ.
Yeah,
stuff.
you can take Leman Russes and whatnot, but you can Genestealer cult can soup with Imperial Guard, or they can soup with Tyranids.
Yeah.
I don't believe they can soup with both at
No,
the same time.
I don't think so.
But it's nice to have that versatility. I love building lists because you can come up with all these different kinds of combos that you can do, all these different little like neat tricks and whatnot for when you're telling your opponent, oh, hey, you know, I brought this detachment, and this detachment. These guys interact this way.
Yeah.
I can use these stratagems to buff these guys, but these guys interact this way because they gain this buff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
pretty cool.
It's a little bit complicated to get it though.
Yeah,
I wouldn't suggest that if you're just starting to just start souping right away.
Yeah.
Focus on your main mono faction first, and then from there build from that. There you go, guys. That's how you build an army. That's how you do some list building. We'll go into some more advanced stuff. I think the next thing that we'll probably talk about is something about movement phase, talking about all the different advanced tricks that you can do during your movement phase.
Deployment, movement, shooting, all very important things.
Yep. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it, leave a thumbs up, press subscribe, and if you guys have tips to help out new players, leave it in a comment below. And if you're a new player, go ahead and read those comments, and then that could help you learn how to run an army and get started with the game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye. Goodbye, Bye-bye. Bye, Daddy. Bye, Father. Goodbye, everybody.